Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are looking at 9 absurd pieces of guitar trivia. No need to beat around the bush, let's just dive in. First on our list, what is the most famous guitar solo of all time? Is it Hotel California, Bohemian Rhapsody, Stairway to Heaven? Well, the answer is none of the above. If you go purely based on album sales, then that distinction goes to Eddie Van Halen for his work on Michael Jackson's Beat It. MJ's album Thriller has sold a whopping 47.3 million certified copies since its release in 1982, and the most famous solo off the most popular album is on the song Beat It. The story behind the solo is the stuff of rock and roll legend. Apparently, when Eddie Van Halen was first contacted by Michael Jackson's people, he thought it was a prank call and ended up doing the session free of charge. And what's even more rock and roll, according to the people who were working in the studio, as Eddie played his solo, the monitors literally caught on fire. Moving on, traditionally guitar strings were made of not nylon, not nickel, not steel, but rather animal intestine. Dating back as far as the 13th century, stringed instrument makers were using a material called catgut to make their strings, which is surprisingly not made from the gut of a cat, but rather the intestines of various farm animals. In the 1800s, we started to see a metal string wound with another thin metal wire. They were louder, cheaper, more durable, and of course, vegan friendly. Now, some might think that a 12-string is a pain to tune, but Jared Dines took it one step further with his 18-string Ormsby. Davey 504 has a 24-string bass. Rick Nielsen of Cheap Trick has a 36-string guitar, but it gets even crazier. There exists a guitar with 42 strings. In 1984, jazz guitar genius Pat Metheny asked renowned luthier Linda Manzer to build him a guitar with as many strings as possible. The result is an instrument called the Picasso, and it has strings all over the place. It has a traditional 6-string neck tuned as a baritone. It has 2 sets of strings to be played like a harp, as well as sympathetic strings underneath that ring out much like that of a sitar. You can see Pat Metheny playing one in numerous concerts, and you can own one yourself for a cool price of $30,000. Next up, we have something that is actually fairly useful. It is mandated by US law that guitar players can take their instruments as carry-on without extra charge when flying. This is great news, unless you're hoping to make a viral video about how United Airlines broke your Taylor guitar. A few years ago, former US President Barack Obama signed into law the FAA Modernization and Reform Act of 2012, which among other things states that an aircraft carrier must allow you to take your instrument as carry-on, assuming space permits. The entire law is long-winded and wordy. I'll link to it in the description, but I think this is one time it's safe to say, thanks, Obama. Next up, we have what was the first ever signature guitar. Now, there is some debate about what constitutes a signature guitar, but it's commonly believed that the Nick Lucas 1925 Special made by Gibson was the first. Lucas was an old-fashioned singer and guitarist whose biggest hit was Tiptoe Through the Tulips. The story goes that a Gibson sales manager was constantly pestering Nick to play one of their instruments. Finally, one day he responded, "If you build a guitar to my specifications and it's not too bulky, I'll throw my guitar away." Gibson took him up on that, and the signature series was born. Moving on, have you ever played your guitar for a long period of time and wondered if maybe you had played your guitar continuously longer than anyone else? Well, bad news, chances are you haven't. According to Guinness Book of World Records, the longest guitar playing marathon by an individual is 114 hours, 6 minutes, and 30 seconds. This was achieved by a fellow named David Brown at a pub in Dublin, Ireland from the 12th to 17th of June in 2011. That's nearly 5 days. Personally, I would not recommend doing that. Our next bit of trivia is pretty crazy, but totally awesome. There exists a guitar forest, which is unfortunately not a forest full of guitars and Jimmy Pages, but rather a forest that was planted to resemble a 6-string. An Argentinian farmer named Pedro Martin Ureta planted over 7,000 eucalyptus and cypress trees to honor his late wife. Apparently his partner had always loved the instrument, and one time when they were flying over the country, she had come up with the idea. After she passed, he took it upon himself to make the idea a reality. Moving on, have you ever been sitting on $2 million looking to blow it on some lavish expense? If so, I have the thing for you. The Dubai-based company Lifestyle Fine Jewelry teamed up with Gibson to create a diamond-plated SG valued at $2 million US. The diamonds are arranged to create a flower-type pattern on a fully playable electric guitar. Guinness has confirmed the value of it, and it has been around the world to show off the diamonds that the parent company Coronet has to offer. My opinion, it looks like a guitar that has started growing some weird fungus on it, and if anyone ever buys it, they are living in a very different reality than I am. Our last piece of absurd trivia is about the origin of guitar tabs. Many of us associate this type of notating music with online forums, but it actually dates all the way back to the 1300s. Over the centuries, it's been used to notate music for guitars, lutes, organs, and a variety of other instruments. In fact, what you're seeing here is an example of a tab from the 1500s. The word tablature comes from the Latin word tabula tabula, which means a table or slate. To tabulate something means to put it in a chart. So the next time your guitar teacher goes on a rant about how guitar players these days are way too reliant on tabs, you can throw this little piece of information in his face. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it, 9 pieces of absurd guitar trivia. This video is brought to you by the traditional guitar playing samurai shirt, available over at www.shopsamuraiguitarist.com. There are a variety of styles and colors, men's, women's, baseball tees, short sleeves, long sleeves, you name it. They ship all around the world. Check them out with that link over there. And if you want to watch another video like this one, you can hit that link up there. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for regular guitar content. An extra big thank you to everyone who supports my channel through Patreon. I'm Samurai Guitarist, and I will see you again soon.